Okay, Nova, so you wanted a flickering fluorescent tube. Now, the visual effect can be tweaked, but we have a fluorescent tube here that just blinks on and off slightly randomly. It is predictable, but there is a little bit of randomness in there. Um, this is the circuit, but I want to talk about it a little bit because what I want to do is adapt it such that you can have multiple lights that follow the same pattern, such that the power is the same. Imagine like the power's dodgy in this building or whatever. Let's make it the same. So I've kind of stopped halfway through, and we'll work through there. First, let's go through what I've got originally though. So we take T. And we're timesing it by 1 right now. This is just a multiplier of how fast we want the effect to be. So right now it's kind of fairly quick, but if we were to times this by 5, you'd see it's blinking off a lot. So you want like, I don't know, a high intensity moment, maybe times it by 2, which is like a little bit better, but leave it at 1, it looks like that. You can also go lower than 1. If we go down to 0.5, you'll see things take a lot longer. So we'll leave that at 1 whilst we test. And we take that and we put it into simplex noise. Now, simplex noise just adds simplex noise to it. I don't really know how to describe simplex noise to you other than it's simplex noise. So look up what simplex noise is. We then remap that between -1 and 1 to to 0 and +1. And that's because simplex noise outputs a value that exists between -1 and +1. We want to wrap that just to 1. We're going to multiply input color. Now, I want to use dynamic variables for that, but not right now. We're just testing things. So we've got 2, 2, 1 here, and that just gives it the glow because we've got a bit of emissive here. We could pump that up to 5 or whatever, then it'd be very bright. Who knows? Let's try it. Yeah, there we go. It's exceptionally bright now. So I'm going to drop that down to 3. Put 3 in everything. There we go. That's a bit more fluorescent for you. And then we multiply this. Now, this isn't that well known, I know, but you can multiply a color by a number. And what that gets you is a sort of like fractional percentage of that color. So if I go up here and I times this color by 0.5, you'll get 1.5 out because we've halved 3. You also get like alpha of 0.5 out. That's kind of weird when you do fractions. That's totally fine. If you need to set any of the colors to be, absolutely one channel needs to be a particular value, you can do set A or set G, set R, etc. These don't take an impulse, they just modify the exact properties. So you could maybe put that there and say, hey, alpha always needs to be 1. But for this purpose, it doesn't matter because alpha is always greater than 1 in this case because of the emissive. We then drop this into a ternary, and now this ternary is just checking like, hey, is our remap value greater than 0.5? And what this does is it cuts off half the animation, and you can kind of squeak this around a little bit to determine how much it sort of glows down after it's started glowing. So if I lower this down to 0.1, you'll see it stops glowing almost to 0, and then actually starts up again because we don't have enough boundary there. So we change that to 0.2, you'll see it kind of turns off occasionally. But, I've been bouncing around with the value. 0.5 is usually good. What that means is you're cutting out exactly half of the spectrum from the simplex noise that you get. And then we're just passing this into a ternary so that when it's less than 0.5, the resulting color is just off. And that's why the black tube here is appearing occasionally when the lights are entirely off. So I want to set that up so that you've got a room that could be full of them. So we're just going to call this box our room. I know it doesn't have walls, but we'll call it a room. So inside our room, we're going to go ahead and create a data dynamic variable space. That way we've got the same space that we can use for all of the lamps there. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm now going to go ahead and add a data dynamic value variable of color. Haven't opened this today, so brief lag spike. So we'll open up a color variant of that. I'm going to call this color like we've got up here. And I'm going to chuck this into here. And then I'm going to set that value to exactly what we had, which is 3331. So 3, 3, 3, 1. Now that's the identical color. Now we can start using this light here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead, plug this into here. You'll see it goes black now. That's totally no problem because we haven't parented this logics to the cube. Let's do that pretty quickly. So we're going to go here and we're going to go to flicker logics. Come on, hand. Really? I think my hand's just like literally timed out. Let me just plug it in. I'm having an issue with my controllers where sometimes they just decide that they don't want to track anymore. It's very frustrating. If anyone knows how to fix that, that's great. It's still got a green LED on it, which means there's like, I don't know, some sort of error going on. I don't know, whatever. If I plug it in, it's fixed. So flicker logics, and then we'll take this and pack all of this into here. And now you see it starts working again. So we can unpack that, and we'll now see that, hey, because we're under the room's dynamic variable space, this color now outputs. Now this is just driving a material right now, and currently that material is on that cylinder, but I'm actually going to go ahead and move that to our flicker logics here. So we'll do assets, materials, unlit, unlit. I'm going to go ahead and swap that over to the unlit material on the flicker logics. And we'll get rid of this one. And we'll also get rid of this material that we have over here. I just had it created for testing. And now we're going to make sure that the flicker logics material is on this light tube. There we go, it's flickering again. I'm going to repack that logics. And now I'm going to grab the cylinder and parent it to our room. Just a good sort of, you know, good bit of organization here. Then we'll move it over to the room, maybe shrink it down a little bit so it's more the size of our sort of bird's eye view of this room. And then maybe we've got some, you know, cylinders over there and another cylinder over here. And now they're all using the same material, so they don't need any logics on them individually. They're just all responding to the same material effect. Now I noticed just now, actually, this is why you get, sometimes you get live tutorials from me. I hope you enjoy them. I noticed that, you know, fluorescent tubes aren't black when they're off. They're kind of, you know, a sort of cyany color. So let's go ahead and do that. If I don't know color values, what I do here is I go ahead and I grab object neosui color dialog, and I just select the one at the bottom. And I play around a little bit. So cyan. I do have something saved there somewhere, but I don't really remember where it is. It's totally fine. We just go here and where does that get put again? It's here because it doesn't HSV. Of course it doesn't HSV. That's great. I'm going to go ahead and find my tool. Give me 1 second. I knew there was a reason why I had a tool to do it, but I didn't know what that reason might be. Is there dry field on that? There is dry field. We're totally good. So we'll just go ahead, examine that. Go up to the top, go to the color. It'll say value here. We just go ahead and go boop, boop. And now they're, you know, targeting each other. So now they go to this sort of cyan color when they're done. Probably want that a little bit darker. And now we've got cyan. Now you could do that with a PBS one. You could do that with a metallic thing. You can even do it with a transparent tube. You just have to sort of watch what you're doing there. Now I know this flicker effect isn't identical to what was shown in the video or identical to what I think your logics is doing, but the important thing here is that we're not driving. We are using dynamic variables, and that's because we can change that color without unpacking this logics. We could even make this value, the sort of cyan color, another dynamic variable, and that way we wouldn't have to unpack the logics again to change that. We could then also make this speed multiplier here a dynamic variable, and this cutoff value here a dynamic variable, and then we wouldn't have to open the logics ever. The lights would just configure themselves. We could also reverse this such that the light is on for, you know, the opposite side of the spectrum if you'd like. You can even try sort of messing around with other mathematics here. The key point of view here is that sometimes when you're using rights, there's a mathematical solution for you. You can find a mathematical solution that can kind of drive those values here. There's no network traffic going through here. There's no cloud variables. There's no you know, no synchronization, nothing like that. It's all just being calculated locally. If you look inside operators, there is things like DT could be fun to play with, as could a couple in the math Go to math. We could look at maybe sigmoid might be fun. Doubling up the simplex noise might be fun. Smooth lerping, any of the lerps there, even logarithmics or powers might be a better way to sort of get a mathematical function for it. If you know maths well, then you're better than I, because I don't know maths well. But if you can create a curve on a graph, sort of get your graphing calculator out, then you can make this flickering light exactly how you need it to be. You got a 10-minute free tutorial. I hope you enjoy that. I say free like I charge for them. I don't. Anyway, have a great night. I'm going to get back to what I was doing before that. I totally don't mind doing this sort of thing from time to time. It's just easier than explaining. I'll see you next time.